Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Beyond the Barclay with me, Jez Davies. I am joined with a few members of the team this evening. Start with the sexiest man in Deerham, Mr. Morgan Hewitt. How are you?
As you can see, I'm wearing my shirt with pride.
Yeah, it's looking good. It's looking good.
My first and last time. I feel like Toppich.
Oh, my God. All right, well, let's move on to our next guest for this evening, Mr. Cillian, the Flying Canary O'Grady. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I've been flying today, so I'm dialing in from Amsterdam.
It's like the Eurovision Song Contest, isn't it?
It is really, yeah.
Yeah.
So much so.
Nil point. That's what we've got for the last few weeks. So, last but by no means least, Mr. Nick Lyle, the driving canary. How are you, sir?
Yeah, evening, gents. Yeah, good. No driving for me today, which is nice. The car's been sat outside and not moved.
You look like you're in a sauna.
Yeah, I am. Swedish sauna. You've got your pajamas on, huh? You're a fine one to talk.
Mate, it's third shirt from however many years ago. Come on.
Yeah. Carrying on the Eurovision theme with Sweden. There we go. Could be one of them episodes. So we're here tonight to discuss the news that broke last night, a couple of hours after the game. I think it was something that we were probably all expecting to happen based on the recent form, shall we say, and it, a long time coming. But obviously Liam Manning and his backroom staff got sacked this last night. So I guess let's just hear sort of your early reactions on that, really. And I'm going to start with Cillian, if I may. What was your sort of initial thoughts on that when the news broke?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't surprise me. Clearly, it hasn't been working out. It just seemed to be spiraling out of control. I do feel sorry for the man. Like, clearly, he was 15 minutes away from saving his job, potentially. Which I'm sure fans mightn't have been so happy about. So I think it was probably the right thing, inevitable. As a human, you'd feel for him, but obviously it just wasn't happening on the pitch.
No, I agree. And what about yourself, Nick? Were you at the game yesterday?
Yeah, I was at the game, and I think listening to Canary call on the way home and the interview they had with him, and I think Chris Gorham quite rightly pointed out when he's, when Manning said the fans were epic today, and to be fair, I think it's the best home atmosphere we've had all season. And Manning said the fans have been epic today, and the lads are going to need that for the rest of the season. Chris picked straight up on it and said, "Well, are you not going to be here then, Liam?" And he'd clearly already been told at that point that he'd gone. Personally, I didn't see it coming. I think with Atanasio coming out and giving them all their full support, I genuinely thought we were probably in for weeks and weeks more of dire football and dire results before anybody would pull the trigger. But it looks like Napa has gone first and probably got in there before Atanasio can get rid of him, I suppose.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think as well as that is I was there on very rare occasion that I was on an away game and you two weren't, Cillian and Nick, but I was there at Sheffield Wednesday and we were awful first half. It just didn't look like anything was going to happen. Second half was a bit better. And it looked like there was a bit of fight, and obviously we got the equaliser. But it's sort of a bit of an inevitability of what the scoreline on Saturday. And I think you're right. I mean, I remember I was watching a bit from the news conference, press conference, where Paddy Davitt challenged him and was like, and Manning just switched. But I've never seen him like that. He bit back at Paddy Davitt, and I think by that point everyone kind of knew what was happening. What about yourself, Morgan? What was your initial reaction, sir?
Glad. I don't want to seem negative, but I think that he's been. I think the poor guy's been on the ropes for weeks, and we dragged it out for far too long as a club. It's not worked. The players that he's got are not the players that he would probably expect to field. I was just relieved, for myself as a fan, and for himself, because I think for weeks we've seen him come out in press conferences looking like looking like he hasn't got an answer. And on a human level, I think that the club should have sacked him sooner. And so where does that lie? Where does that kind of like contention lie? Does it lie with the people that should have pulled the trigger? He's the one who's going out to the media and the fans and going, what do you want? I just think it's poor from the club. Bottom line. And I know that we're not as a fan podcast, that's not our vibe. But on a human level, that's absolutely poor from the club to send Matt out there to take pelters week in, week out, knowing full well that they're not happy with what he's doing. And that's a larger question. And like I said, I know that that's not our remit, and there are other podcasts that do a better job of that. But from a human level, I just think it's absolutely poor from the club. A club that pushes and promotes a notion of mental well health, and I think it's poor. I think it's poor what they've done to Manning. Yeah, he's not the right man for the job, but you don't send someone out there for weeks and weeks on end, knowing full well that they're gone.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of it.
It's a sham.
Yeah, no, great, and I'll probably bring Cillian back in on this one, but I wonder how much of that was down to this perhaps precarious position that Ben Napper finds himself in. Do you think that delay was caused by that? I mean, a lot of people were saying that them two, including the club owner, by the way, Atanasio, was saying that Napper and Manning are intrinsically linked. Do you think that's fair to say that that delay was because of that, Cillian?
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. I mean, it's known that for most clubs, it is the manager or the coach that goes out and faces the media 2-3 times a week, and that's part and parcel of the job. I really felt for him last night. Clearly, as Nick said, he knew what was coming.
Yeah,
it was a painful interview to watch. To have to watch him, go through that with Paddy and the lads. But that's what you sign up for, I suppose, as a manager. I think obviously it didn't work out for him. It's been happening. The one thing that did surprise me listening to some of the guys who regularly meet him. I mean, I met him twice in since the start of the season, and I found him very warm and personable. To be honest, I found him very boring and repetitive in press conferences, and I was surprised to hear the lads say the difference they saw the man when he was just chatting to them and the man when the camera came on. And it's something that club to Morgan's point there about mental health. I don't think the club is doing a good job of mental health. To me, our problem on the pitch isn't around technical skills. All those players can hit a ball. It is a mental challenge, and I don't think the club supports enough on the mentality side of playing, irrespective of what structure they're playing our team. So I think it's an area that the club needs to improve on. And in regards Napper himself, I don't think he's going to be around very long. No. That's just my guess that, Manning's the first of the Skittles to fall. And I think there's probably another 3 on the way. But that's just speculation on my part. But I can't see a couple of the others staying much longer.
I completely agree, Cillian. And I think that's a sort of quite an interesting point that Cillian raises, Nick. Do you think that the playing squad I'll rephrase that. Do you think the playing squad are good enough to get out of the position they're in, or do you think it was down to Manning's tactics, or do you think it was down to the players essentially, or can we get out of this with a different manager?
I think there's a couple of bits here for me. People talk about the fact that the players don't suit Manning's style. I think we have to remember that 10 or 12 of those players, Manning was directly involved in the hiring of, right? So there's no way on this earth that those players that we signed in the summer, that Manning didn't know anything about them, hadn't had conversations with Napper about, and that they hadn't both aligned that they were good players to bring into the team. It just wouldn't happen, right? Napper's not going out and spend £10 million on a player that Manning doesn't want and doesn't suit his style. But I'm just not sure what the style is. Bristol City were despite the fact they got to the playoff semi-finals, Bristol City were delighted to get rid of him because he doesn't have a style. It's boring football. You know, I'm not big into low blocks and high blocks and XG and, you know, is it a press? Is it this? Is it that? I don't go to football to look at numbers and stats like that. I want a team that defend. You know, when you're defending, you've got 10 men behind the ball, you know, supporting the keeper. And when you're driving forward, you've got the whole team piling forward. And, you know, that's the sort of football I want to see. I think we're hidden behind data, we're hidden behind numbers, and it's been very, very boring. Do I think the players have got what it takes to get out of this position? Yeah, I do. I think the squad is good enough. We've got a number of injuries. It's not good enough to get promoted. It's not good enough to sustain a Premier League position. But from my perspective, I think it's definitely good enough to, you know, to be in the top half of the table and therefore get out of the relegation zone.
Yeah,
I agree. I 100% agree. And sorry to interject, Jez, who looks like Paul Lambert today in his heyday with his collar and his sweatshirt combination.
Thanks.
I love that. By the way, I've been chatting on Pinkin today, and I believe that squad is nowhere near as bad as what a lot of people say it is. Like, you've got Kavis, Diallo's coming back, Josh Sargent, you've got Oscar Suato, who's like, come on, the last 18 months, you've got Marcondes, a January window where we could strengthen with a playmaker that's like in the realms of Pritchard. And when you push forward, you push that attacking momentum forward, you're relieving the pressure on the centre midfield and your back line. So, you know, for that side of things, we're set up pretty good. We just need a coach that can come in and harness that and say and unshackle those players, because I think that we've been shackled the last 3 or 4 months by a coach that doesn't know how to play front foot football. We are a club that it's in, and our song is keep it low, splendid rush. Keep it low. We're not a long ball team. We don't play to wingers to then throw the ball into the box for some lump to get on the end of a lucky cross. That's not the way we play. We've never played like that. So to have this coach that has come in and tried to instill that kind of football after Wagner, I think, got a raw deal, and obviously Farker, ignoring Smith, but it baffles me that we've tried to go down a route that this club has never known for. So those players without those shackles, I think will be fine. Yeah, probably mid-table.
Do you think, Morgan, though, that Napper made a mistake in not taking a punt on Jack Wilshere?
Yes, because I work in an industry that, and I've said this on the Pinkin, that derives from quantitative and qualitative data. So numbers and going out to speak to people as a balance. And you can't have one kind of data drive like numbers. You can't have just numbers dictating how we employ players and how we employ a kind of football. You don't do that. And we missed out. Yeah, we missed out on Wilshere. He was a coach that, I think, from his pedigree and his knowledge and his understanding, we had good quantitative data mixed with a coach that could go and speak to players and understand them as people, as humans. And that's the problem with Napper. He's a data analyst in an SD role. Doesn't work and won't work.
Yeah, and I think was it 4 wins in 4 now for Luton as well. So it shows that he, albeit at League One, he's been able to manage the team, and they beat, I think, Stockport, who are top of the league 3-0 yesterday. So it's, I think they're relatively pleased. I mean, just moving on to the review of the Liam Manning era. Let's talk about the highs, shall we? I mean, that should take all of 30 seconds. The away win at Blackburn and Portsmouth and the cup win at Watford, I think, was his only 3 wins. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Lost all 8 games at home, including the one
that's appalling.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like if you're going to get people on side, I can't even believe I'm saying this. You need to win 1 game at home.
Yeah. And I think that's what's, for me, obviously that's what's done him. But I think we then started losing and drawing games away from him. I think we went on a 6-7 game losing streak where we didn't obviously win or draw 1 game. So
every single one of those games at home was winnable. I've not seen a good team turn up at Carrow Road yet, and they've all walked away with 3 points. There genuinely hasn't been a good team. Middlesbrough have probably been the best team we've played at home.
Great.
There hasn't been a good team there. Leicester were atrocious for 75 minutes yesterday. They hardly came forward. We go 1-0 up. We sit back on the ball. We go 5 at the back instead of 4 at the back, and we fall apart again. There hasn't genuinely, and tell me if you think differently, there's not been a good, strong team play at Carrow Road yet, and they've all walked away with 3 points or a cup win. It's been atrocious.
I think we've found a new way to lose each time, haven't we, Nick? I think it's literally
absolutely. Absolutely. And it was just nerves and confidence yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you've got the league speaks for itself. You've got Preston in the top 4. Since when have Preston, and no disrespect to any, they won't be listening, but like, come on, like for real, like that's where we're at. It's embarrassing that we can't win under him at home. A positive would be a few players have come on since he played Makama. I think Kvisgaarden, Makama, Oscar Suarto have really come on. I think probably through their own efforts rather than Manning's tutelage, and that's about it. That's all.
Yeah,
you got Jacob Wright that can't get minutes. Super impressive young midfielder, can't get minutes. The American owner comes over and tells him he needs to play in Shane Duffy, so Shane Duffy features for the next 2 games. I mean, Shane Duffy didn't do much wrong last season, but if Shane Duffy's getting in the team ahead of Rory McConville and Darling and Medic, and again something's gone significantly wrong there. Just to play 3 centre backs to appease your owner that's come over. I'm not convinced Manning knew who his best 11 was. I know we've got a lot of injuries, but you got better players warming up on the touchline for 65, 70 minutes than you have in the starting 11, and it's so ultimately I think it's cost him his job.
Yeah, agreed. I'm going to just chuck something over to Cillian about the regression of some of the players from last year. So Antti Schunak, 0 assists, 0 goals. Kellen Fisher, shadow of his former self last year. Oscar Suarto actually has improved, I think. But there's about 4 or 5 players that were there last season that we signed at the start of last year that have just regressed. Is that a fair comment, Cillian? And could you sort of shed any light onto that? Yeah.
The only thing I think is, I mean, there's 2 patterns I've seen, and again, I know it's not a very popular opinion because I know I've said it publicly and people have attacked me for it. But like for me, Sargent has become the Timu Pukki of the team. And I think part of the problem has been that some of the players, especially when the confidence is low, their only route is to pass the ball to Sargent. Now, sorry, don't get me wrong, he's a great player, but every defender knows he's our big threat and they're all over him. And I think people like Cernach, and we've seen it with Makama, have been played out of position in a lot of games. I thought Makama was played well in position yesterday. It made a big difference compared to he's not a winger. And I think, in fairness to Cernach, he's been put out on the wing.
Guys, just sorry to interrupt you, Cillian. I've got to go and get the Tesco delivery in.
Okay.
You lot carry on. Enjoy.
No problem. So, I mean, from my perspective, I think some of the players have been played out of position. Jazz mentioned Callum Fisher there as an example. He's a right back. He's not a left back. He's not a winger. So he's been played out of position. I think it's unfair to be critical of him based on having him out of position. And that's been a big challenge, I think, for a lot of the players, being put out of position. So again, to the point that Manning doesn't really know what his top 11 was or what his first starting 11 was. So I think that's been a lot of the problem this year.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And I also think that there's been pressure on players like Howling Pele, Matson, like who's starting to come into understand the league and start to like develop in a role that people expected him to hit the ground running. And I think that, is that unfair, or has he been thrown to the wolves by the coaching team because there's this assumption that he's going to be able to just crack back? Championship is a hard league. Let's not make any bones about this. Like, this league is tough, and to throw a player in there to be a Teti or element of Sorensen, or it baffles me to think that there's that expectation on that kind of player to just hit the ground running. Like,
that's the club's fault again, though, surely, Morgan, because
yes.
we sold Nunes for 10 million to Ipswich, and then the day later we announced Pele Matson. The branding and the marketing that went round him was, it doesn't matter that we've sold Nunes because Pele Matson's going to come in and save the world, because the club had to do that because they realised they'd shot themselves in the foot with the Nunes sale. And in reality, it's set Matson up to fail, isn't it? Because he's not up to speed. He's not Nunes. I think he's had some good games. He's had some good moments in there. But again, like you said, the Championship's a really tough league. It takes some players, a good 3 or 4 months to get up to speed. I know Hux, if he's listening to this, will be spitting feathers because he'll say good footballers should be up to speed straight away because he says it a lot. But I mean, Oscar Schwartau, for me, I know we've touched upon him and the fact that Manning's improved him.
How good has he become? Like,
yeah, Schwartau's become good in my view this season because he's getting minutes. I mean, he wasn't consistently good last time because we didn't consistently see him in a yellow shirt, did we? He was getting 5 or 10 minutes at the end of games, which, a young player isn't going to develop Championship football getting
Correct.
5 or 10 minutes at the end of the game. He's getting minutes now. He's starting games. He's playing 80, 90 minutes most games, and you can see his own confidence is growing despite the fact that the results haven't been great, because he's able to get forward. He's able to take players on, and actually he's got an end product. He is a rebirth of Ono Hernandez, isn't he? Because he's got pace down that wing, but he can put the ball in the box, and hopefully, like you say, we get some strikers with some confidence behind them, and we can start putting that ball in the back of the net fairly quickly.
I think that's a fair.
He's really, from what I've seen of him, when I've seen him play, he's strong. He's strong, and he's not easily moved off the ball. He gets into really good positions. He's able to cross the ball in, and like you said, he's like a Hernandez with an end product. And I think that I know that Napa's got pelters for signings that haven't. I think there's a lot of shit out there, and I swore, but it's a family-friendly podcast. But we've made some signings Napa's got shit for, but actually, to be fair, it's owing to the coaching and them not getting the minutes on the pitch. I think some of our signings have been like Matson, like Oscar, Cernach. They're good players. They just need a coach who knows how to play them.
But if you look look at the Oscar situation, unfortunately some of those players didn't get a chance, and only got the chance because of injuries. And look, with Cernach out, McCann is getting more minutes. Yeah. He's looking good.
Yeah.
So, if I was Topic or Medic, for example, they get dropped every other game because they're not performing. I'm like, that's like a vicious circle. If you're not getting the minutes, you're not going to be at the top performance. So again, we've got gaps in the squad. I've said it from the start of the season. We don't have a strong left back option. And I think and I think Kenny's great the way he sits in different positions, but he was outplayed quite a few times yesterday. Why for the last 2 seasons have we not been able to maintain a good left back option?
Well, I mean, injuries plays a big part, doesn't it? So we've actually got 3 left backs, and all 3 of them are now.
So we probably need 6.
Yeah, exactly.
Because clearly, whatever they're doing in training or whatever, we don't have left backs that are capable of going through a whole season.
And I think that's the other thing, isn't it? I mean, we were going to talk about the club situation a little bit later on, but this injury thing just hasn't cleared up, has it? And I don't know if anyone got injured yesterday, but again, Jeffrey Schlupp midweek. It just seems to be constant muscular, skeletal is the wrong word to use, but like the muscular injuries of a hamstring or the quad or whatever else, and then they're out for 6 weeks. It's constant.
It is, yeah. And it has been for the last few seasons. That's not a Manning thing. That's been an ongoing issue.
Exactly.
It has been. It has been since the Farker era, and I don't understand. Like for a club that has the infrastructure that it has, I don't really understand why we're labouring. What you can put in a great swimming pool and soccer bot all you want, but surely there's got to be more than this. Surely there's got to, like, we're a bunch of guys that aren't sporting heroes other than Jez, but yet we're noticing that these players are getting injured week in, week out. I don't get it.
No.
But they don't warm up. They don't warm up though, do they? They don't warm up properly. It's a walk in the park. The pre-match warm-up's a walk in the park. The substitutes never warm up at half time. They spend the first 12 minutes in the dressing room with the team, and then they come out for a 30-second knockabout. I'm not a sports scientist. I don't work in professional sport, but I don't see athletes warming up pre-match, and I don't see athletes warming up at half time, and then people keep getting injured. And our second half subs, they were coming on time and time again and getting injured. And again, they don't warm up at half time, do they? I mean, they might be doing warm-ups in the changing rooms, but I doubt it very much. I'm sure they're sitting there having a Horlicks.
But again, it's like Nick, like you, I'm not a sports scientist, but I wonder, could it have anything to do with the pitch? Like the apparently we got loads of science behind it, but we got plastic in that pitch along with grass. And in Colony, they've got a direct replica of what we have at Carrow Road. Like, I know in the past, and I know it's not an AstroTurf, but there was a lot of injury issues with AstroTurf. Like, I wonder, could there be something to do with the surface they're training on?
Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah. And then, that then sort of, I don't know. It's just a vicious circle, isn't it? Because if we keep going down this route, we're just good. It's never going to get any better. As Cillian alluded to, we're going to have to sign 60 players a season just to try and not be in a situation where we're injury sort of thing. But I mean, the Sheffield match at one point, it was approaching what I would probably consider to be our strongest 11. Towards the second half, or what was amounting towards that. But it's like, I don't know. It's so frustrating. So I think we've discussed that at length. What Cillian, you alluded to it earlier, but I'm going to ask Nick, what else needs to happen now at this football club over the next couple of weeks? Do we need to lose any more members of staff, do you believe, or are we happy just to get the manager in and go again?
I think my biggest concern is I've got no trust and confidence in Ben Napper being able to recruit the successor. Is now the right time, mid-season, with the manager gone, to remove your sporting director, to move Zoe Webber, and to remove Neil Adams, who, like many people, I've got no idea what that bloke does. I'm sure he does loads, and when we just don't see it. Is now the right time If it was my football club, would I rip out all of those people all now at this time of the season? You know, as a business person, probably not, because I'm not sure that sets us up for the best of success. Now, if Ben Kensel and the others were in town for interviews as being widely touted by lots of media, and they're lined up ready to move in and take over, then great, get rid of them all. You know, cut it out, get rid of them all, and get them in now to replace the manager. But you know, we need a new manager. We need a new manager over the next couple of days. There are some good managers out on the market that are available at the moment. But do I trust Napa to run that recruitment process and bring in Manning's successor? No, not at all. So that's my concern. Atanasio talks quite well in his Radio Norfolk interview about the fact he doesn't understand football, which is quite clear. He's got Zoe Webber and Ben Napa advising him about what's going well and what's not going well at the club. And if they're advising Mark to rubber stamp the new manager deal, then you know, we could be in for another mess, couldn't we?
I think so. And I think, you know, that when you alluded to that earlier on, I forgot to make that point of the fact that Atanasio did come around and back the manager a couple of weeks ago, but I saw that as a bit of a vote of the old dreaded vote of confidence. I thought, right, well, the writing's on the wall now. 2 weeks later, we're here, aren't we? But I think you're right. I completely agree with you, Nick. I think I was surprised that, not surprised is probably the wrong word to use, but obviously Napa led that press release yesterday, didn't he, when they announced the sacking? It was like, well, you know, we now need to get the supporters back on side. And I'm like, well, I don't think you're capable of that, mate. I'm sorry. I think it needs to be someone else. And obviously Ben Kensel was in town. Is he going to pull himself away from the new stadium project at Luton Town? Is that going to be, you know, enough of a draw for him to leave that project that he's got there, albeit they're in League One? Keith Scott's an interesting one because he led a very successful period in our recruitment phase. But who knows? I mean, for me, you know, we'll probably come on to who we're going to pick later on in terms of, you know, what direction we all think the club should go in terms of the appointment. But Gary O'Neill apparently has already been sounded out. That got announced earlier on. I can't tell you what the source is because I can't remember what the source is. But how would we feel about O'Neill? Because I just think O'Neill's a copy of Manning. It's another PE teacher. Cillian?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, you know, just from any bit of info I've picked up, I think the players that have a lot of time for Jack Wilshere. Now, obviously, he doesn't have the experience. So I personally would like to see somebody a bit younger who has Premier League playing experience at a top level. And I know people are saying we're nowhere near the Premier League. We're at the bottom of the Championship table and we need to be pulled out of it. But I still don't think we should lose the ambition to think about a Premier League team. There's no point in me. Some of the names that I've seen, they're half decent managers, might get us out of a relegation battle, but I want somebody who can inspire us to get to the Premier League. It may not be this year, but you know, there's no point in, like, one name that keeps coming up, and we may end up with him as Michael Carrick. But like, if I look at it, he didn't do anything with Middlesbrough. He kept them out of relegation, but couldn't get them promoted. Why would we want someone like that? So Gary O'Neill obviously has a good track record as a manager, but I'd like to see, you know, somebody. I mean, personally, I think someone like Jack Wilshere would have been good. The equivalent I can see on the list, and I know he probably won't end up as our manager, of all the managers that are listed on those bookies sites, is Robbie Keane. We're struggling to score goals. He's a world-class striker. He brought Maccabi Tel Aviv to win the Israeli league. He's now won the league in Hungary with a Hungarian team. Like, he's obviously showing his chops as a manager, and clearly would love to manage in England at some point. So someone like that, to me, would be inspiring.
He played for Inter Milan as well. He's
played for so many teams: Spurs, Liverpool. But like, and Republic of Ireland, he's our top goal scorer ever. So someone like that, to me, is what we should. It doesn't have to be him, but someone like that we should be aspiring to.
I think he would. He'd certainly give Kiss Gordon a different celebration to do, wouldn't he?
Well, they're both doing the same one on the touchline, weren't they? They both were doing the backflip together, weren't they?
yeah, definitely.
Synchronise there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's focus on what's important. Go on.
I think for me, in terms of the next manager, I want to be in a position where we can back a manager for 3, 4, 5 years. I'm bored to tears of this revolving door of manager in, manager out, manager in, manager out. I want to be able to get behind the brand. I want the brand of Norwich City back.
Yeah.
I want that brand of football back. I want a manager that we can get behind, that's with the club for a number of years.
Okay.
And for me, I know the dream is to always play in the Premier League and then get thumped every week and get relegated. And I know to some degree we need the money for that, right? But I'd much rather be finishing in the top half of the Championship and playing exciting football every week and enjoying what, for me, football is about, is spending time with friends and family at the game, and watching some good, exciting football. I genuinely, I'm not a football expert. I follow my team up and down the country every week. I've watched very little other football. I follow very little of the football talk. I just want to be able to enjoy going to the game with friends and family and enjoying the social event that is football.
Yeah, definitely.
With the manager in the seat for a while.
Yeah, 100%. I think I just wanted to ask Morgan what he just ate first before we move on. What was that? You just had a little go on, Morgan.
Some fake Doritos.
Lovely. Would that be my next question is kind of like twofold to you then, Nick. If we did that where we brought in a project manager and that was going to be for the next 3 or 4 years, could we allow them to get the club relegated? Because obviously it might be that we're not getting a short-term fix in that. I think Cillian alluded to the Michael Carrick fix. Would you take that? Would you say, well, okay, this project manager's come in, we might get relegated, but it doesn't matter because he'll bring us back up? Is that the sort of thing you're saying?
Look, we've been there and done it before, right? And it wasn't the worst thing to happen to Norwich City Football Club. But yeah, the last thing I want is getting relegated to League One and running the risk then that it's going to take us years to get back out of League One. Because again, there's no guarantee you get out. I'd much rather whoever it is gets that new manager bounce and gets us up out the league. But we're cut adrift at the bottom, and actually if we're still there or thereabouts come the festive fixtures, then for me it's well and truly in a relegation battle. For me now it's too early to call it a relegation battle, but something needs to change, and it needs to change quickly, because two or three wins and we're halfway up the league table, right? Because I think between the top 8 or 10 clubs, there's a matter of only 3 or 4 points between them, which is always the way of the Championship.
It's been a dreadful league. I mean, like Coventry, no disrespect to Coventry and no disrespect to Stoke and Borough, but really, I looked at the table today and I was just like, this is embarrassing. Like how, I know I sound like a typical Norwich fan. Well, I am, but like, it's embarrassing. We are where we are, and to lose that many games at home, it's baffling. And so for me, Jess hasn't asked me that question, you fiend, but the fact is, you bring in, if you're using common sense as Antanasio, you go out to, he's not an idiot. He's worked in sports for a long time. It doesn't matter whether it's football, baseball, ice hockey, it doesn't matter. Like, it's a business. The sooner Norwich fans get their heads around the fact that it's a business, the better. It's a business. So where is it failing? It's failing at the XYZ points. So you get, if you're Antanasio and you're going, well, I need a return on my investment. Yeah, it sucks. Yes, it's capitalism, whatever. But this is how we're looking at it now. You go, well, where is it failing? Why is my sporting director failing? Then I must need an external team of consultants to come in to review where things are failing and going wrong so I can address them. The guy's not an idiot. Milwaukee Brewers are one that, like, he's taking them from 0 to like 95% in baseball in the United States, which is about what, 6, 7, 8 times bigger than the UK. Like, let's not get this messed up. The guy is a success. So he's going to come on Radio Norfolk. He's going to talk to the Norfolk glitterati and be like, yeah, this X, Y, Z, this is what we need to do. And I come across as an amiable guy. He's a really successful businessman. Let's not get that bent.
Yeah.
The guy knows what he's doing in the sporting realm. So if something is failing as a business, as a sporting business, he's going to go, who can I get in to review this to see where things are failing at an infrastructure level and a sporting level? And if that means Ben Napper stays in post until the new year because of contractual situations, or because of because it takes time to get someone in post, then fine. Things don't just happen in a vacuum, you know? And I think that we as a fan base need to understand that. I'm not saying that Mark Antanasio has all the answers for everything, but we also need to understand that he is a successful businessman, and we are swimming in new waters that are beyond our comprehension.
Yeah, definitely, Morgan. And who would be your pick for a new manager
right now in a short-term contract? It has to be a short-term contract, right?
Yeah.
Someone who can save us from relegation, so a firefighter, I suppose. We've said, look, I don't know, Carrick, Gary O'Neill, but again, it comes down to the fact that we have to think about short-termism right now. It doesn't matter about a long-term vision, because we need to think about saving our shit from League One. We're down to League One. It's not going to be as easy as everyone thinks to go, oh yeah, we'll bounce back. It's not. We all know that. So it has to be someone who's a firefighter who can grind it out for the next however many wins that we need to sit mid-table. There's talent in this squad, and we've talked about this. There's talent in this squad. It just needs a coach that can use that to get us out of this shit show. That's all, right? And then you can think about long-term vision. I know that's not what you wanted me to say or answer in a clear way, but that's the common sense approach for me, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair shout. Gents, thank you so much for coming on. Cillian, I'm conscious you've got another gig in a minute, so just
give it to I'd give it to Huckabee and Holt till the end of the season. I would. I think I'd get the team fired up.
Gary, Grant Holt is too busy at Deering Town Football Club. Love you, Grant.
Just before we finish, gents, or two things actually. I'm going to introduce our women's footwear expert, Izzi Fisher. And
hello.
Hi, Izzi. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Just to sort of introduce a little bit of positivity, really, because the women's team's been flying this season, hasn't it, Izzi?
Well, I think you've probably picked the worst weekend for it, seeing as obviously we have lost today. But apart from that, obviously it's been very positive, at least the last month.
Yeah. I think we're second in the league, point off Fulham, goal difference of plus 24. It's fair to say, isn't it, the job that Andy Cook's doing this season's absolutely phenomenal. I can actually say it, phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a phenomenal manager. He's been there 2 years now, and he's in a league of his own. I mean, I suppose he was assistant coach at Newcastle and the likes of that, and it's just showing that in this sort of league that he's just flying, and with the players he's got, even though I'd like to say we're sort of having a bit of an injury crisis at the moment, he's finding the players and he's finding the performances. Obviously, today is an under-21 side, and they're always quite strong. They beat Southampton last week 8-0, and obviously we lost to them last year. So you can't really fault them. You've sort of you got to say, well, it's just a hard game.
Yeah, definitely. And just before I chuck the floor open to the three other gents that I know are buzzing to ask you some questions about a winning side, what's your predictions for the rest of the season? Where do you think Norwich are going to finish?
Well, I obviously want them to win, and I think looking at the fixtures we've still got to play, I think I'm hoping that obviously first is obviously the aim, and you want promotion, but it's all about beating Fulham. See, I know that we're only 1 point behind them, so it only takes them to draw a game, and we're gone with our goal difference. But if you can't beat Fulham at the end of the day, do you really deserve it? Because that's 12 points you've given them technically, because you've dropped 6 and they've got 6 from it.
Yeah, it's a good way of looking at it. I think, and they've still got to come to the nest as well, haven't they? So if you can just give everyone the details of how people can go and watch Norwich City women, where do they play? What's the drill?
So obviously, Norwich City women, they currently play at the Nest. Obviously, they have the occasional game at Carrow Road, but based on obviously the Norwich socials, you will know when those games are happening. Obviously, it's 2 p.m. It's not that much. I think it's £6 maybe for an adult.
Oh, wow.
So it's not much.
It's 8.
Well, it's gone up since last year, but it's still, compared to the men's game, you're getting a much better result. And the prices are really such a different price. Even I think half season tickets are like the same as maybe 1 ticket for a men's game. So if you fancy coming and watching from Christmas, it's not much money out your bank account. Let's put it that way.
I did. I saw you last Sunday, didn't I?
Yeah.
Hovering around, Izzi. So I saw the women smack Cheshire 9-2, and you said to me, Cheshire were a bogey team. They were dreadful.
They were last year. I swear down. Last year they were, but then I think we're just such a different level this year. But last year, obviously, I think we were lucky, especially in our away fixture, to come away with the 2-2 draw. I think it was touch and go in that game. I think we were 2-0 down at points. So I would describe them as a bogey team. In terms of them and like Sudbury last year, they were the teams we dropped the points to, those teams at the bottom. But obviously 9-2, 5-2 against them this season. Like, it's just a different team this year. And I suppose I wouldn't necessarily call them a bogey team now like I did to you last Sunday.
No, they were dreadful. I would, again, I want to stress this. If I know being a Norwich fan has been hard work the last few, following the men's team, the last few months has been, last few seasons has been a real shit show. But please, if you want to see and watch good football and enjoy football again, go watch a women's team play the Nest. It's cheap. It's a great day out. You'll have a good time. Or alternatively, go and support your grassroots football club. And I mean that from like the bottom of my heart, like Durham Town, Wroxham, Kings Lynn. They all need your support on a weekly basis, because these are clubs that may not get that funding and they need people to turn out, and Norwich don't necessarily need that amount of revenue. So please do support your local football team and Norwich City Women's, because you'll have a great time and a great day out. It's bottom line. Without grassroots, there's no top.
Yeah, definitely. Cillian, anything to add?
No, I'm going to have to love you and leave you, but I'd love to know, Izzi, to hear a little bit about those injuries, to see if there's any patterns across the club.
I mean, you'll hear a little bit when Jez puts out the All in Yellow episode today, but couple of, I think you were speaking about 3G pitches and 4G pitches and all of that, and I think they played in some of the injuries, but we've not had a week off yet, with quite a few midweeks, and I think plays more of a part in the women's game when people aren't full time and things.
Sure, yeah. Looking forward to hearing that episode when it comes out. Listen, I've got to head off.
Thank you, Cillian.
Catching up with you all.
I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks for coming on.
All right, thanks. Bye.
I'm just filling a little bit here because I do want Nick to come back. Pardon?
Me and you love filling.
We do. I want Nick to come back on so we can do the random question of the week because he's never had one.
Izzy's never had one.
She has.
I have. I had your
Yes.
one, and it was like, how should we go dressed up to the next game? And I said you should come in the yellow and green afro wigs with your nails done and things.
That's true. Jez,
I remember that week.
This is the first and last time I'm going to be wearing one of these shitty kits because I hate wearing our merchandise on these podcasts.
For our audio listeners, Morgan is wearing the away kit from, I think it was the third kit, wasn't it, from a few years ago?
2016. It's got community. It's like the white bird one.
Yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, Cillian and Nick have actually both departed. So Izzy, is there anything else you want to say about the ladies' team whilst we've got you?
I mean, obviously, if you want to come and watch, I don't think they're actually back at home until December. But if you can manage to fork out a day to watch the women perhaps play Chatham this weekend or Burnley the week after that, right up north, or Cambridge, which is I suppose quite a local one, then I'd recommend coming. I think the Burnley one will be particularly hard, so perhaps don't fork out the whole day in a hotel for that one, unless you really, really do fancy coming and watching a very entertaining game where it's top of the league above versus top of the league below.
Yeah.
Do
But
you know what, Izzy? You've got an absolute career in media lined up ahead of you. Just
hope so.
Saying something like that. That was like music to my ears. You've got
That's
such
right.
It's quite easy to sell a team when they're doing so well.
You've got such a timbre, a lovely timbre. Jez, I'll do a random question because I know you need it. And
yeah, who's answering it?
For both of you, really.
Go on then.
Should I? I've got an idea. I'm gonna improvise with gimmicks. Random question of the week.
Okay.
So, if both of you could go to any seaside resort in the UK and fly a Norwich City flag, whether that's for women's or men's, which seaside resort would it be and why?
Jez, you can go first.
I'm throwing that out.
Yes. Well, it's only one, isn't there? Let's be honest. There's only one that I would ever select.
Go on.
You know already, Morgan.
It's Grover, isn't it?
Of course it is. Mary Jane's. I'd go into Mary Jane's. I'd get their flag off the wall that says Mary Jane's on it, the best fish and chip shops in England. And I'd go and flag it down on the pier, make sure everyone can see it. Especially those that are sitting in number one eating their fish and chips. They'll see some big old Norwich unit waving a flag at the end of the pier. So Mary Jane's, the best fish and chip shops in England. There you go.
What I don't really understand is how they're not a partner.
Well, they get mentioned enough, don't they? So
they really do, and they
probably could be.
They need to step up to the plate, and that's not a pun intended. What kind of is? Mary Jane's, come on,
I think there'd be a good catch, Morgan.
Oh God, I can't believe you just did that.
It's not the time or the place.
Codrow, you didn't.
I think the Norwich men's team's lost its soul.
You keep battering me with this shit. Izzy, don't think we've forgotten about you. Just sat there laughing. What seaside resort would you go to?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of places. Maybe like. I was trying to think if I'd go in Norfolk or out of Norfolk, and then I thought,
have you been out of Norfolk?
Yes. But I was trying to think which would be more fitting. I don't know, maybe like Sheringham just as like a way to be like, oh, don't forget about Norwich. or maybe I could send a flag down to Brighton just to sort of rub it in their face that even though they beat us today, we'll beat them again next year.
I don't like, you know what I don't like about Brighton is like everyone's always like, oh, Brighton's so good. I'm like, great, but all you've got is pebbles on your beach. You've got a pebbly beach. No one wants that, do they? Let's face it. People want sand.
Yeah, they do.
Metallica, Enter Sandman. So
What,
there's the... Go on, Jez.
Sorry, I was going to ask what seaside resort would you go to, but I didn't realise you hadn't finished your point.
It's a good question.
You said it.
St Ives in Cornwall. St Ives in Cornwall, because it is an absolute... Cornwall is one of the best places on earth. It's phenomenal. If you like, I don't work for the Cornwall like tourist board, but its beaches are sublime. The sea is crystal clear. The sand is like white. It's one of the most beautiful places on earth, and it's in this country. So for me, Cornwall, St Ives. There you go.
Nice. I like that. Okay. Well, I think we should end now because unless Izzi, did you want to say anything about the men's team or? I think we've kind of done it to death.
I don't really have many words for it at the moment.
I think, to be honest with you, that's probably
good
good.
about the men's team, do you, Izzi? To be fair,
I've sort of chosen to switch my attention away from them at the moment because the energy isn't worth it.
Wise move. Very
all
wise
I
move.
know is that they were 1-0 up against Leicester, and next thing I know, I finished my tea and they weren't. So, but I didn't fancy going into how on earth that happened. I thought I'd stick to the fact that at one point we were actually winning a match.
What would you do for tea?
Oh, what was this yesterday? Was it?
Yeah.
I had a Chinese actually because we went out, didn't we? I went out for my sister's.
Oh yeah,
birthday.
for your sisters. Yeah, fair enough. Oh, lovely. That sounds nice.
Yeah.
Was it like
better than the Norwich result? Let's put it that way.
Was it a sit down Chinese? Was it?
Yeah.
Whereabouts? Didn't know they did any of them anymore.
Somewhere in Watton, somewhere, I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. We don't get the same Chinese twice.
You never get the same. You never get the same Chinese.
Are we going to get them as a partner as well, Jez?
Well, no, because Izzy keeps going to different ones.
Well, we go to whatever suits on the way home from like anywhere, or whichever one will deliver for the day and things like that. Or if they're actually eating, for example.
Okay, so I'm going to give a shout out to a place in Durham, and so they better end up partnering with us, because if not, I'll get angry. Wonder Food on Norwich Street in Durham. Wonder Food is great. It's really tasty. Chinese takeaway. Wonder Food for Chinese takeaway in Durham. So please partner us.
Brilliant. When's our next episode, Morgan? It's with Callum Rivet, is it?
Yeah.
On Wednesday. So Callum,
why not?
Is it Callum or Connor?
Callum.
Callum used to work for the Norwich City media team. So I think given the current goings on at Carrow Road, it'll be quite a good listen, that. So if we haven't scared off all of our listeners by now, please do tune in on Wednesday. Yeah. Izzy, what's up next for All in Yellow?
Chatham next week.
Excellent. Well, hope you have a lovely time. And where is Chatham? That's like West London, isn't it?
Kent way.
Is it
Bit
Kent?
further than, it's probably about the furthest game of the season, but
good luck. Hope you have a good time. I hope they get. Oh, so hang on. So they played Chatham 2 weeks ago, and they've got them again.
Chesham.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Shows how much attention I'm paying. I think we should leave it there.
I get a bit confused. It's okay.
Absolutely fine.
I pay attention more than you do.
I don't, clearly. So if we do have anyone still watching, please do like and subscribe for more great content on our YouTube channel. Please also follow us on our Facebook, Instagram and X pages. I always forget about TikTok. So please follow TikTok. And also we are proudly supported by Master Seal, Izzy's mum and dad, and Pie Design. I've been Jez Davies.
You've been Paul Lambert, mate.
Yeah, Paul Lambert.
I've been a long-suffering Morgan Hewitt.
And I've been Izzy Basie Fisher.
And of course, we did have Cillian and Nick on earlier on, but they had to depart. So goodbye, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.